So Grant, one of the things that I'm curious about, and I'm sure our audience will be as well, is if you own a business premises, say for example an MOT garage, and you employ people, is there considerations that a business owner has to make in terms of redeveloping that site and losing the employment on that particular business?
We deal with an awful lot of this because those kinds of sites are often seen as being so ripe for development. And these are exactly the kinds of business owners that will be thinking that they can sell that business and retire on it or make some value out of it. What people need to recognise is even a fairly run-down, small-scale business that looks a bit scrappy from the outside and only employs a couple of people, in terms of its planning value, that value can be really, really high. Because in order for a city to function, it has to have those kinds of uses for lots of reasons, because people need to take their car somewhere to get serviced. The other important consideration is that these places tend to employ people that generally at the lower end of the skills bracket, if that's a fair way of putting it. And if we were to just extinguish all of these sites across London, not only would there be nowhere for people to get their car serviced or fixed or MOT'd, but the people that work in those places who probably live fairly nearby and probably don't have a lot of mobility or a lot of skills to take elsewhere.
Or want to travel an hour and a half to
exactly
reach their place of employment.
Would be out of a job. And that creates a worklessness or loss of employment situation, and politically and socially that's incredibly important. So the way I think of it is that the planning value of these things is often massively misunderstood. What a landowner developer often looks at is it's a site of a certain size, it's a bit scrappy. What this site needs is to be cleaned up with a nice, pristine, shiny block of flats.
That people will love and
the people will
sell
love,
well,
will contribute to the area, it'll provide some housing for London, it'll be beautiful. But they don't understand the planning beauty, if you like, of that use as it is now. And that's one of the big things we find we have to manage expectations on. And one of the solutions to that is to say to people from the outset, look, you're going to need to re-provide some employment on this site as part of a mixed-use development, for example. There are ways, depending on the circumstances of the site, of being able to extinguish that employment use if you can build the right planning case for it. And we have had success in doing that in the past. We've been able to persuade the authorities that this site shouldn't be protected for that use for whatever reason. We can genuinely demonstrate that if this business finishes, no other business user is going to want it, and therefore let's put it into housing. That's one of the part of the art that we do. But I think that really, the MOT garage example is a really, really good one. Because
common around London
it's so
as well.
common, and it is fair to say that the numbers of MOT garages are dwindling because they're simply not needed as much. But some of them remain extremely valuable in that existing use, and that's a really key consideration.
I think it was a very good question to touch on. Thank you.
Indeed.